So how strong is DBZ Guldo in physical strength and raw power minus his abilities? I really haven't seen any actual guides as far as really showing his power level. He does have a unique ability that might make up for a lot for his raw power. If you look at Guldo, try to estimate his power level, but take away his abilities, you might just see how powerful he really is, or probably isn't, but most likely isn't. Because for Guldo being in the Ginyu Force, he was struggling with Krillin and Kid Gohan, who both had a power level of 10,000. And it could make you reconsider on what Frieza's soldier member, who would be able to take him out despite Guldo's rank as a Ginyu Force member. So let's see how powerful or strong Guldo is compared to the other top elite Frieza soldiers. And where would Guldo peak at? So if we compared Guldo to one of Frieza's henchmen, and that title is given to Kui, I guess being a Frieza henchman would put you above the mid-class Frieza soldier rank, and further above low-class Frieza soldier rank, respectively. So Kui's power level is at 18,000, but he still wouldn't be able to overcome Guldo's overall ability. And Power Guldo would be able to defeat Kui with his ability, even though Guldo has a lower power level than Kui. But after really looking through DBZ and trying to get everything done as accurate according to DBZ lore and power, I luckily came across at which member in Frieza's army would be able to defeat Guldo, and that would be Zarbon. Just take a look at this clip from a DBZ video game.
You're nothing but an insect compared to me.
Well, what did you say?
But besides Zarbon being able to defeat Guldo, let's see who Guldo would be able to defeat. He would most likely be able to defeat Kui, because Zarbon also attacks Kui. But unlike Guldo, Zarbon unalived him after fighting Zarbon while Guldo survives, but really beat up, and it takes Zarbon 2 tries to unalive Guldo. The same with Dodoria, so maybe it could be anyone's guess between Guldo and Dodoria, if they battled. So, if Guldo is equal to above Dodoria, that means he can beat any of the following. Like Gas and Dodoria's elites, which in actuality in Frieza, Soldier's ranking, they would be in Frieza's mid-class. Frieza Soldier's ranking, they're really only elites, because they're Dodoria's hand-picked mid-class Frieza soldiers. That's why they're Dodoria's elites and not Frieza's elites, or else they would be considered mid-class. So Guldo can beat Kui, probably the strongest in this order, and Gas, and also Dodoria's elites. But Guldo would top off at Dodoria. Guldo would also be able to defeat the 3 Nameks that fought Frieza, that all 3 had a power level of 10,000, but especially if Nameks get damaged or injured by an attack to the head, then they won't be able to regenerate from Guldo impaling them with a sharpened tree with his psychic abilities. But now that we got all of that out of the way, it's time to calculate Guldo's overall psychical strength and speed. So when we see Guldo fight against Krillin and Kid Gohan, he was able to run what appeared like a 2.9-mile distance. When he froze time during those 7 seconds, which would put Guldo's speed at 1,491.4285714285 miles per hour. But then again, Guldo takes off running a second time. And this is during him not being able to hold his breath, and thus time isn't frozen. And the second distance looks about, he ran 8.7 miles in 31 seconds. And this is during when time was moving as usual. And Kid Gohan states out loud, how did he get that far away? So if you add the distance when he runs, when time was frozen, to when he runs right after, he can't hold his breath, his speed would be at 2,732.6285714.285 miles per hour is in his speed, 285. Even though Guldo ran at a top speed of a good 2,732.6285714.285 miles per hour, it would be very unimpressive, and it would mean he's most likely physically weaker than Raditz. And I think I've seen in an old guide or lore that shows his power level at 1,100, but because of his abilities, he can defeat enemies that are a lot stronger than him. But just take a look of how worn out he is after running, but also he drained all of his ki freezing time, unable to use ki attacks. On Kid Gohan and Krillin, while they were suspended in time, instead trapped them in his psychic abilities. But one thing Guldo can do with his psychic abilities besides trapping people stronger than him that would put him above some of the Dragon Ball characters of Dragon Ball, like General Tao, is that the tree he launched at Krillin was going faster than the pillar launched by General Tao. The tree Guldo launched at Krillin, it went up to space in about 4 seconds. General Tao's pillar throne is almost comparable to a missile being launched. Just take a look at how many frames it takes for this missile to be seen out of screen. But they're both still slower than Guldo's psychic tree launching ability. And for something to overcome the force of gravity to reach space, would already have to be traveling at 17,500 miles per hour, and including the amount of time it is thrown, and how it reaches space, and that distance is 62 miles, would put the tree Guldo launched at a top speed of 41,680 miles per hour, compared to a 15,769 miles per hour speed, calculated by a different DBZ fan, making Guldo's psychic launching feat almost 3 times faster than General Tao's pillar throw. But seriously, besides Guldo's abilities and how he was already exhausted by just running away from Krillin and Kid Gohan and not being able to defeat them with his ki attacks because they were drained out of him from using his time, stopping abilities once if Guldo didn't have those abilities, then I'm sure he would be at a low-class Frieza soldier level rank. I don't really see Raditz having those physical issues Guldo had because Guldo being out of shape. But Guldo does have ki attack powers, even though we didn't get to see him use his power in the anime, to see how strong his ki blasts are. But in the video games it shows us they're at least stronger than Vidal's. Even though, as you can see, Guldo trying to fire ki waves at Krillin and Gohan, but is all drained from the time freezing and just falls over, failing to make ki attacks. But anyways, here's some notable dialogue, which implies Guldo and Salza from Cooler Squadron Once Met.
You fools should learn to mind your own business.
This time, I'm going to annihilate you! Big power comes in small packages.